I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, October the 1st. Can't believe October's already here, but you can tell by the cool mornings and the hot afternoons that it's here, and it's time to watch the health on those calves, and it's time that the calves are starting to come to town, and more of the offerings in your feeder cattle sales are calves than they are yearlings. The yearlings are running out. A lot of cattle that were sold back this summer, either private treaty or on the big videos, are being shipped right now. So you know, we don't have any bigger supplies than maybe what we've had the last year or so, but the pen space is limited. We're moving a lot of cattle around, and it's just that time of year, fall run. But we've lost momentum in our market as this past week our board opened lower on Monday, and we just had to scratch and claw and fight to stay steady with your fat cattle trade, and your weighted averages are going to be disappointing as we find out what they are here on Monday, and I'll report that to you on Tuesday's visit. But look at the board ending the week last week. October live cattle ended the week at 113.45. That was up 38 cents compared to the end of the previous week. December ended the week at 118.85, up 40 cents for the week. And you wonder why we struggle to maintain steady as our supplies of market-ready cattle are getting lighter. We're getting into the time of the year that the market should be moving up. But I tell you what, it was tough sledding to hold the market together last week. And God bless those negotiated cash sellers in Kansas and the guy or two in Texas that still sell that way. They were able to really maintain steady for a market. But October feeder cattle ended the week at 158.17, up a dime. September went off the board last week at 156.89. And now we look at November feeder cattle futures ending the week last week at 158.05. Like I said, your fat cattle trade was a struggle to maintain. They started selling cattle just a pinch lower early in the week in the northern plains. Most of the cattle in the northern plains on a live basis bring from 110 to 110.50. That was kind of steady with what they had the previous week, but a lot more of them on the lower end. And the 111 that we saw in the southern plains on Friday, that they really had to use all their knowledge and skill and haggling tools to get that 111. That was steady for them, but a lot more cattle sold in the 110 range, and so our weighted averages are going to be lower. They sure are on a dress basis, because the week before last, all the dress cattle bring 175, and last week it was a spread between 173 and 175, with the bulk bringing 174, so that's a full $1 lower on a dress basis. Box beef cutout values, the average trade for last week. Choice cuts 9 cents higher than the weighted average from the previous week at 205.07. Select cuts down $1.49, with a weighted average of all the select sales last week at 193.84. Made a choice select spread that's growing at $11.23, and had really good movement on the weaker prices there for the better quality product there earlier in the week, but then late in the week it kind of tailed off, but still pretty decent movement for the week at 677 loads. Slaughter was good, but not quite as good as the previous week, which was really outstanding. Like 650,000 head last week. Anytime you get close to that, that's big, and that's 7,000 lighter than the previous week and 2,000 more than the same week a year ago. Main reason for the loss compared to the previous week was they had a light Saturday kill of only 53,000. Now look at your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central ended the week at 154.89, 13 cents lower for the week, so that's pretty close. The market was mostly steady, struggled a little bit to kind of get going earlier in the week, but never was really any cheaper, just maybe kind of lower undertone in some sales. But on Wednesday, your board was up big on feeder cattle and up good on fat cattle contracts too, and then that kind of helped get your market back up to fully steady, and instances as much as $2 higher on your feeders. Your calves were mostly steady straight through. There's good demand on them, but like I said earlier, there's just more and more of the offerings in your auctions are calves every week, and it won't be too many weeks before they're just predominantly calves as the yearlings are running out. But mostly steady in the plains and the Midwest on your calves. Your southeast shipped in markets, one at a time sales where your shippers buy and send them out, they're starting to see some increase. They were a lot of them $3 and $4 higher last week, as guys are getting more serious about starting to get calves in for straighten up for wheat pasture, and they weren't seeing the gains that we saw here the last 2 or 3 weeks in the calf market. So it's time for them to improve a little bit. But look at some individual quotes late last week on Friday. South Coffeyville, Oklahoma stockyards had a good sale there on some mixed steers. 119 head, weighed 856 pounds at $152.75. Go up to Burwell, Nebraska. We always talk about their sales, and they had a heck of a sale on Friday last week, and talk about some calves. 102 of them weighed 530 pounds at $201.25. That's an impressive sale there. And then a guy sent me a picture here of these cattle at Burwell, these Charolais steers. 141 head of them all together, averaged 646 pounds at $178.50. The half-brother blacks off of them weighed 676 at $181.25. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.